Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I will be predicting the prelim fights for UFC 230, Cormier versus Lewis. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the prelims and our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the heavyweight division, Adam Warschack versus Marcus Rogerio de Lima. So de Lima's coming up from light heavyweight. He barely can make the weight, so he's going to come up. I guess he was struggling to make the weight, probably couldn't make it anymore, especially not healthy, and it probably was hindering his performances, so he's coming up. You got Adam Warschack. I think he had about one or two fights in the UFC that true heavyweight, or at least he hasn't fought beneath heavyweight, I don't think. So he's a heavyweight. He hasn't came up anything. But not to stray off topic too much, as far as style matches go, de Lima, he can't submit you. He's more of a, like, he's definitely a hammer, not a nail, or he can't really deal with being. So yeah, de Lima's not really the best nail. He can't really take it as much as he can give it. So he's very aggressive, very powerful. He can submit you once he's on top. He's very, like I say, he's powerful hands, powerful kicks. He's just a powerful dude, powerful submissions. But as far as when it's getting done back to him, he can't really take it too much. Like, he'll get TKO'd or he'll get submitted himself. And against Adam Warschack showed that he can at least give it out and take it. He shows to be an adorable guy, especially in the last fight, getting taken down and wearing some damage a bit early, then able to find that omoplata. And you look at his record, he's able to find submissions. And I think kind of in this fight, with how aggressive de Lima is, I think he'll find himself in an awkward position again, or at least find himself kind of getting tangled up a bit and ending in a bad position. And I think Warschack can be the better prepared fighter for those situations. He's going to be be the opportune fighter, take advantage of the opportunities, and find a submission. I think it'll be like a rough fight. De Lima definitely can knock out anybody he touches, including Warschack. But I feel like Warschack's going to just find it's like that moment, not that moment, those scramble type awkward moments in the fight and be able to power through those, whereas I think de Lima's going to crumble in typical de Lima fashion. I think Warschack's going to capitalize. And I see like a second round submission. So in this fight, I have Adam Warschack via second round submission. Then on to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Brian Kelleher versus Montel Jackson. And really, I can make this one very simple while I'm going with Brian Kelleher. I think Montel Jackson is the better striker. I think he has a lot of talent, but he's getting thrown in a little too deep because Kelleher has fought some of the best people in the division right now. I'm not saying he fought all the best, but he definitely fought much better competitions. Kelleher, as far as Jackson, I think he came off the Contender Series and had like one decent fight against a fighter who's really going, like Ricky Simon, who's probably going to butt into a pretty good bantamweight and like have a lot of success in the division and in the UFC. But as of right now, Montel Jackson has really not fought the same tier of competition. I think that's what's going to be the winning factor what's going to lead to Brian Kelleher when I think he's going to be able to make it a full MMA fight. Like, if this was just straight up striking matchup, Montel Jackson would probably knock Kelleher out, and I think he definitely can still knock Brian Kelleher out. Yeah, his name is, I'm struggling with his name right now, but Brian Kelleher. Yeah, he definitely could knock Brian Kelleher out. But I feel like I said, this is an MMA match. This is not a striking matchup. This is not this. He's gonna be used his veteran experience, and he definitely has some he's slick with submissions, and his grappling is solid and stuff. As far as Kelleher goes, I think he's gonna be able to utilize the full MMA game to make it his fight and pretty much rough up the still roughly somewhat of a newcomer in Montel Jackson. I think it's only his second fight in the UFC, and Brian Kelleher is just going to use that experience on him, use that well-roundedness on him, and mix up the skill set. I don't think it's going to be a finish, but I think it's going to be a decision. Brian Kelleher is going to grind it out in a veteran style of performance. So in this fight, I have Brian Kelleher via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Shane Burgos versus Kurt Holub. And as far as Kurt Holub, I'm not really too impressed with anything he does. He can wrestle, but is it that high level of a wrestler, or is that efficient with his wrestling? Not really. When we look at most of his fights, as far as against the top level competition, he actually the one getting out wrestled. His striking really not that impressive. As far as Shane Burgos goes, I think that's one of the better prospects at 145 in my opinion. He definitely still has a lot of potential. He could go very far in the division and has fought already some of the better competition in the division. I feel like. But yeah, I just feel like this fight has all the makings to be a Shane Burgos type fight where he'll just walk you down, march you down, kind of like rolling with your shots and going to your body, mix them to your head and just smothering you. Like, Holub might go for some takedowns. Burgos has some solid wrestling defense, so it's going to be hard to take him down. Like, Kurt Holub has some really good takedowns. I think Burgos going to be able to defend the takedown, then just keep marching him down and wearing on him. And eventually just stop him. I think it'll be like a late third round stop. It's like a Burgos type performance where he just walks you down, beats you up, and weirds you down, then stops you once you really just, your legs are gone after he hit you in the body enough, hit you in the head enough, and you just kind of get cornered up, and he just starts welling on you until the ref stops or you get TKO'd or knocked out. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Shane Burgos, like I said, going to walk him down, go to his body, go to his head, and just tear him up and defend those takedowns. So in this fight, I got Shane Burgos via third round TKO. Then on to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Matt Furbola versus Lando Bonada. When I look at Matt Furbola, I only see these real, like say standout skills, especially against somebody like Lando Bonada, who I see is a very well-rounded, very technical fighter in a lot of different areas. Like his wrestling defense is solid. He's explosive. He knows what to do down there. So if you take him down, he'll explode back up. He'll probably defend most of your shots. So he's like not that fighter where you're just gonna come in and try to be half, like what's called half baked or whatever I would say, like not really super good with your wrestling. Like your wrestling not on point, like solid. Like you gotta be really on point with your wrestling to really utilize that against Bonada. Yeah, and I don't think like I said, I don't really think Furbola's wrestling or grappling's on that level. I think Bonada's gonna be able to deal with his grappling attacks. On feet, I think Bonada's just on a different level. I think he's more creative, he's faster, he's sharper, more powerful. And it's just like really as far as skill step up, this is a huge skill step up for Furbola. Maybe not as ranked because neither of them are ranked, but as far as like skill, I think this is a huge step up for like Furbola, and I think Bonada just going to eat him up. So I think the grappling's not going to be too much of a factor. I think it's going to be with more Bonada's going to make it more of a striking matchup, and I think that's in that area he's just on a different level from Furbola. So I see a first round knockout for Bonada. So in this fight, I have Lando Bonada via first round TKO. Then on to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Ben Saunders versus Lyman Good. So two veterans of sorts. Lyman Good has been around for a minute, but maybe not as far as in the UFC goes. He's not somebody that went back as far as Ben Saunders did in the UFC, but Lyman Good has been around different MMA circuits for a long period of time. Then he came to UFC and he's been here for about 5-6 years. So he's been around a while. You know, Ben Saunders has left the UFC, came back to UFC, and was in UFC one long stint, and now he's on another long stint in the UFC. So you got two veterans of the game. Ben Saunders definitely had those elbows and those good submissions. He had some striking sometimes. Like he definitely had some solid striking. I'm gonna say he's one of the best strikers in the division, but it's something you gotta respect, especially with those elbows, those long limbs, those knees, and his jiu-jitsu. He has some solid jiu-jitsu. But as far as Lyman Good goes, I say he's like a rock type fighter. He's not gonna be real flashy with anything. He's not gonna be all super fast, but he's strong, sturdy. And I think that's what's going to win him the fight. He's gonna be able to probably land the hardest shots on Saunders. He's gonna be understanding what's like. He's not gonna get caught up in like what any Saunders like tricky elbows or knees, and be able to land the hardest shots, land the cleaner shots. And as far as the grappling goes, I think he'll be the stronger fighter in the grappling. So he won't. And I think he's savvy enough that he's not gonna, or at least understand enough what Saunders brings that he's not gonna make any mistakes to get caught in these submissions. And it being only a 3-round fight, I'd say Saunders probably has a better conditioning as far as this based off his frame. He's not like a big, bulky fighter like Lyman Good is. So Lyman Good, maybe it was like a real long fight and maybe Saunders could break down. But I don't see it even being a factor. I think through 3 rounds, I think their cardio should hold up pretty much the same. I think Saunders is going to push such a high pace. And if he does, I think Good will be there to counter it. But I see kind of a decision fight in this thing. But I feel like Lyman Good will be able to just neutralize Saunders in many ways. And just win a pretty clear-cut decision, land some hard shots when needed to, defending some shots when needed to. If the takedown presents itself, go there and maybe working from inside Saunders guard or half guard. But really got to see Lyman Good just pretty much leading the dance throughout. So in this fight, I have Lyman Good via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Julio Arce versus Shayman Morais. So decent enough matchup. Shayman Morais, even though he lost what's his face? I forget his name, but I'm not even gonna go off his name right now. But Shayman Morais, I think he has one loss in UFC, and his last fight wasn't necessarily that one-sided. Like he didn't win it too impressively. Some people weren't impressed. Some people thought his opponent won. But from what I'm saying from him, I think he's actually pretty solid fighter. Solid striking, okay grappling, but solid striking for sure. He could push on a high pace. Only thing is sometimes it's not as technical as it could be. Like he just be trying to fight with aggression a lot of times. And I think that's what's going to kind of play out as far as, because when I see Julio Arce, I think the first time I actually seen him fight was on a Tuesday Night Contender Series. And he showed to have very sharp boxing, very good composure, well-rounded everywhere. Matter of fact, I think I saw him in his first UFC fight. He just murked some guy that looked just like him. So I did see him fight like twice now. So Julio Arce is a beast, I think. I think in this fight it's going to be, they might have all these different skills. So I think it's going to come down to the striking more so in this fight. Maybe it might end in the submission, but I think the striking is going to set everything else up. I think Shayman Morais is good. He's explosive. He has a lot of athleticism. He has a lot of good things to talk about him about. But I think he lets that kind of get washed aside by his aggression. I think that's going to play against him, and Julio Arce is going to take advantage of it. Because when I first saw him, it was against a fighter who was aggressive and very talented and very athletic. But he was able to kind of just get used to that guy's pace, kind of let the guy have his like first little rally or first bit of explosion. Then he just started finding his mark and started like, yeah, you landed some decent shots here and there. You were looking good early, but I found what your mark. I'm just touching you up now. I'm like counting your big hooks and wide shots and just firing right down the middle and just tagging you up until the ref just stops me. So I think that's kind of how it's going to play in this fight. Morais going to come out hot, but Julio Arce is going to be able to just endure the storm and just start finding that mark and just keep finding and keep tagging Shayman Morais up. And then I would say a second round submission after an onslaught of clean strikes. I think Morais is probably going to kind of curl up a little bit, present the neck, and then Morais might get like a Doris or a guillotine or something and just tap him out. So in this fight, I have Julio Arcade via second round submission. Then on to our next fight, we have our prelim headliner. Our co-prelim headliner is weird as that sound. They don't really call it that, but whatever case, our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Sijara Eubanks versus Roxanne Modafferi. So this fight has already happened on, the season of Tough One, and they were fighting for the inaugural women's flyweight championship. But yeah, this was like the semifinal. But then after this fight, Sijara Eubanks missed weight and all that stuff, and they had to get a different person, and all, you know how the rest of the story goes, or she failed to make weight. But again, so this fight has already happened, basically. That's what I'm just trying to say. So, you know, Roxanne Modafferi, her striking is good sometimes, not good some other times. It's not like it's ever phenomenal, but sometimes it's working and looks real clean, at least by her standards. And it actually works and be efficient, you know, like it's effective enough. And then she has solid grappling. That's what you most kind of give her praise for, is like her grappling. And yeah, she's pretty tough sometimes. Like her heart shows up sometimes. Sometimes like she curls up early. Sometimes like she could take some punch and go through some wars. But you know where her best thing kind of comes from. She a savvy veteran, and she has some good jiu-jitsu, and her striking came along pretty enough. But against Sijara Eubanks, I think Eubanks is the bigger fighter. Her grappling about just as good as Modafferi, maybe even better. But I guess you could say the best thing you could say is, like, we don't know who's exactly better in grappling because they never really grappled too much. But I'm gonna say even enough. And I think on the feet, Sijara Eubanks is just a better striker. Like just like in that last fight, Sijara Eubanks was just tagging her up, and it was like it didn't even look fair, really. Like she was not really obliging her with the grappling, just beating her up on the feet, and look real one-sided. And I think that's going to be the same. I think Modafferi going to be a little bit better this time around, but just about the same thing's going to happen again. Modafferi's not going to really be able to have her way with the grappling like she does with some of her other opponents. You know, on the feet, Eubanks is the bigger, better fighter, like more athletic, faster, sharper. Just pretty much, you can't really give Modafferi any area in the striking over Sijara Eubanks, and that's just how it's going to play out. It's going to be Sijara Eubanks not giving Modafferi what she wants and just tagging her up. Modafferi probably grits her way to the decision. Like, I mean, she's not gonna win the decision, but she's gonna make it at least to hear the decision after getting beat up the whole fight. And then Sijara Eubanks is gonna win a pretty clear, probably win a 30-27 decision. So in this fight, I have Sijara Eubanks via decision. Now on to our prelim headliner. We have in the featherweight division, Jason Knight versus Jordan Rinaldi. So you got two fighters riding losing streaks. You got Jason Knight, who was at one time one of the better prospects, and he was looking very hopeful in the featherweight division, was riding a good winning streak, and had some good names on that winning streak as well. And then that winning streak turned into a losing streak, and now he's trying to get off that losing streak, or end that losing streak. You got Jordan Rinaldi, I think, on a 2-fight losing streak at lightweight. Now he's dropping down to featherweight, maybe for new opportunities, or maybe a refresh on life, or whatever, or refresh on his career in the UFC. Maybe thinking I can have more success at featherweight. So basically, he's trying to reinvent himself by dropping down, start from scratch, basically. But he's starting off kind of in the deep end a little bit, because Jason Knight has seen some of the better fighters in the division. So it's like, maybe he's not in the best position he can be, but he definitely still has been there. So he's fought some of the better people in the division. He might not be in the best position right now, but still, that's still like the deep end when you're fighting one of the people that's been there and not like really past that prime or nothing. I think he's just on a bad scare right now. And even in his last fight, it's a fight he could have won. It was close. He just could have made some better decisions. Like, but at this level, when you're fighting, all it takes is like a couple bad decisions, or maybe even just a bad game plan against this level. At that level, and that could change the fight. That could have maybe been a win into a loss. And even still, it was that close to being a win for him, with like a split decision, or a fight. Even if it was a split decision, it was basically a real close fight. That, matter of fact, he could have stopped his opponent like twice. He had like 2 opportunities to stop his opponent, but it just didn't happen. So again, not to get too off topic, Jason Knight's still a very solid fighter, and this is a very big fight for him, despite the losing streak that Jason Knight is riding. So as far as their styles go, Jordan Rinaldi's a wrestler, in my opinion. Like, that's what he is. That's his bread and butter. He's a wrestler. He has some solid grappling. His striking's okay. It's passable. Jason Knight has some solid striking, some solid power. He has some real good jiu-jitsu, real good rubber guard. And that could kind of, like, the rubber guard actually could be a factor that could give Rinaldi a chance to win if he chooses to go to wrestling. He can secure some takedowns. And maybe Jason Knight be too willing to go to his back again, and Rinaldi could grind out a decision, and defending the submissions is win by being on top, like winning by top control. But I feel like he's going to learn from his last fight. Like Jason Knight's going to learn from his last fight. I see him hurting Rinaldi on the feet often, whenever he can. Not getting too aggressive like he did in some other fights. And just trying to have some composure in this fight. Trying to get a well-needed win, or a much-needed win. using his power when needed, using his grappling when needed, but not forcing anything per se, and just being like fighting a smart fight. And that's feel like what he's gonna do. Rinaldi's wrestling is good, but I don't think it's that great in my opinion. I think Jason's not gonna be able to defend the wrestling a little bit, and then he's gonna work to get back to his feet. If he gets taken down, then on the feet, I feel like he's gonna have a good advantage on there, and I think he'll be able to tag Rinaldi up. I see like a late stop. I think Rinaldi probably be able to grind out something. I mean, not grind out, but survive the first round. Maybe gets a takedown when he's hurt, and just enough so that before Jason Knight gets back to the feet that or secure the submission or anything, that he'll be able to regain his senses a little bit, get his head cooled down a bit. But then by that third round, I feel like he's gonna be warm from the damage. I think Jason Knight's gonna be able to get him out of there. And I see third round TKO for Jason Knight. So in this fight, I have Jason Knight via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight. So that concludes my predictions for the prelims for UFC 230, Cormier versus Lewis. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.